Welcome to the Blonde Runner podcast with Coach Lora Erickson, where she shares her healthy living tips as a running and triathlon coach and mother of 4.
Hello, friends. I'm excited to have one of my favorite people on my podcast today. My daughter, Rachel Erickson. She will be a sophomore in high school, and she's one of my favorite people for real. Like, even if she's my daughter, but there's so many traits that I admire in her. And one of the qualities or things we're going to be talking about today is never giving up. So, welcome, Rachel, to my podcast. She actually wasn't too reluctant to do this, so I was pretty happy to have her on. But we're going to be talking about that concept. When I wanted to kind of give you a little preface of her, I'll tell you a little bit more about her like I do some of my other guests. But obviously, I know her very well. She's my daughter. She has 3 older brothers, so she knows how to hold her own. She has a really fun personality. I like Rachel because she's funny. I'm going to embarrass her now. But she's also pretty well-rounded. She does pretty good at her grades. She is she plays the clarinet, and then she also does volleyball. She's really gotten into volleyball a lot now. So anyway, I want her to tell you a little bit about her as well. So welcome, Rachel.
Hi. I don't know. Let's see. About me. I love to read.
Yes, that's true.
I love reading and playing video games. And that's pretty much all I do.
And volleyball.
Volleyball, reading, video games. That's all I do during the summer.
That is pretty much teenager for you right there.
Pretty much.
Exactly. Okay. So I know we were going to talk about volleyball and your experience there. So I know you've done... talk about some of the other sports you've been involved with, because you weren't just a volleyball player.
Okay, so when I was maybe around 7, I did soccer for a while, and then 2 years back before COVID, I did soccer for another season. And I love soccer, but it's also just it's outdoors, so it's really sunny and, I don't know, really hot. I also get burnt in 2 seconds.
Yes.
So
fair-skinned people.
Mm-hmm. And then another sport, I don't know. I did dance when I was younger. I did ballet and that kind of dance. But recently, for the past 5 years, I've done hip hop, and I've really enjoyed that. And then I don't know. I think those are the only sports I've really done.
Yeah. And I think for the most part, you really did well at dance. And I think you still like dance.
I still love dance.
Yeah, you really love it. You were very good at hip hop. But let's talk about how many years have you played volleyball now?
I started playing in 7th grade, and I'm going to 10th, so about 3 years.
So 3 years. So tell us, how did you get started with volleyball?
One of my friends in 6th grade, she got into volleyball, and so I was like, oh, I kind of want to try it. And I tried out for the 7th grade team for junior high, and I didn't make it. But then I got inspired, and I was like, I like volleyball, so I kept trying.
So tell us more about that experience. So how did that feel? When it's hard to try something new, period. You tried something new.
Mm-hmm.
And you were 7th grade, right? And tell us about the tryouts. What do you remember?
They were just normal tryouts. Before that, they had a little volleyball camp, and I went to that, and I played. I kind of had the basics down, but I wasn't quite amazing at anything. But the tryouts, I felt like I did pretty well. I was like, oh, I probably will make it. I'm a 7th grader that knows the basics. And then I thought it was a 2-day tryout, so I showed up to the 2nd day, and then the coach or assistant coach or whatever was like, hey guys, how do you feel about making the team? I was like, oh. And so I went up to him, and I was like, I thought this was the 2-day tryouts. I don't know if I made the team. And so he looked it up. He was like, oh, you didn't make it.
Ouch.
And I was like, oh. The thing is, the entire team was there staring at me. And so I was even more embarrassed that I didn't make it because I showed up.
Yeah. And
then he was like, don't give up, though. Don't give up. And so then I went outside, and I started crying, and I called, you to pick me up.
Yeah.
And because I was like, oh, oops. And then you picked me up, and I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
I remember you were bummed, but I don't know. It was hard to know what was going on in your head. What was going on in your head?
I don't know. It's been so long. But I was just like,
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get that
Yeah.
news. It's hard to feel like, oh, I totally came on the wrong day. You know, that whole experience for you.
Like, looking back at it, I don't know. I don't remember it being too difficult, but at the same time, it probably was in the moment more. But I was like,
When did you
regret it.
decide, hey, you know, I like this enough. Yeah, I didn't make it. Like, do you feel like not making it made you want to even come back? And
Yeah, not making it, like, motivated me to push myself harder and to make it the next year. Because it would be harder for me to make it the next year because I wasn't on it in 7th grade. But it helped motivate me to try harder and to...
Well, now you knew where you kind of set and what the skills were, and that you were able to, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because for me particularly, I've had experiences where, you know, not everybody will keep trying. A lot of people that have that kind of experience will be like, hide under a rock and never try again. But what you said, and you even said it, is like, it kind of motivated you.
Yeah.
Somebody saying you can't do something kind of motivated you. And I think that are a lot of people out there that would just give up, but you didn't. So why didn't you just let that be where it was?
The thing is, results don't come from giving up. You want something, giving up and not trying won't give you the result. Even if you're doing something and results haven't come for a long time, they're not gonna come if you give up. And so I was like, you know, I gotta try, and I can't give up, because one day the results will come and I'll see them, and I'll be grateful that I didn't give up.
So you kind of like had that hope that you knew if you worked, eventually it would pay off.
Yeah. Well, I also always felt like I started the sport late, so I was like behind everybody else, and so I knew I would have to work harder to get to where I wanted to be. And so then that's what I did. I worked harder.
And I mean, obviously being your mom, I can attest to your hard work. I guess that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, because I've worked with a lot of people that would give up in that. And then, you know, you knew you did start later. And a lot of people would go, well, it's just too late. I'm done. They don't even try. But you didn't allow that to, I mean, you almost let that be your motivation. So, like, one of the things I can't teach people, I mean, I've coached for years. And I work with a lot of people that will give up, and they give up so easily. And it's like, I can't teach. I'm so grateful you have it. I didn't have to teach you that, though. It was something you had inside you. It was something you didn't, maybe you learned it somewhere else, but you already had it. You didn't, even at a young age, you didn't say, I'm giving up.
Well, you can't give someone motivation to do something. They have to choose to be motivated enough. Like in school gym, when we have to run the mile, you can choose to be motivated to try to get the best score you want. I didn't really.
You weren't that motivated in the mile?
Because they were just saying, go run the mile, try to improve your score. But it wasn't me motivating myself, because I didn't care. I didn't want to run it. But a lot of the time, when you have a goal to get like a 7-minute mile or something, you have that motivation
from
that pushes you.
What makes that motivation though? What made you different? What made you see these obstacles? I started late, you know, I got cut, I was embarrassed, and I had my friends saw me. Why were you able to say? I guess that's why are some people able to not give up? Why other ones give in, you know?
Honestly, I'm not sure. That's a tough question, because I feel like it's partially genetic, because you don't give up easily. And I just have that mindset of like, oh, I know I can do this, and I push myself harder than I probably should at times.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
I'm like, but I know I am capable of more, and so then I push myself to do that, and I don't give up. And so I don't know how people can be motivated if they
don't have it. Yeah.
It's up to them, and if
what is it? What's the payoff for you? I mean, there's got to be a payoff. I think that was what motivates a lot of people, is to see improvement. You knew, and you did make improvement with your work, and we could see that. That's very motivating. Mm-hmm. What else? What drives you? Right? Like now, like you recently just made the gold team on Hive, which is a local club, which is their highest. Like, tell us about that whole experience.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like the past experiences I've had with not making a team and also making the team and then not being able to play at all because my coach played favorites and didn't think I was good enough.
That was hard. That was hard to watch as a mom. So I saw it firsthand. It's like you're better, and even having people on the team say, why aren't you playing more? And then it's out of your control and kind of going with it.
The thing is, sometimes people don't see your potential, and so you have to see the potential in yourself, and you have to be like, I can do better. Just because one person didn't see that potential in me doesn't mean I don't have it.
Oh, I love that. I wish other people would really listen to what you said, because that's true. Just because somebody else doesn't see your potential doesn't mean you don't have it. But it is so important for you to see it in yourself, because you're the only one that can pull that out of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because for Hive I made the gray team, which is the ranks go white, gray, black, and then gold for the categories.
The gold being the highest.
Yes,
yeah.
Gold being the highest. And so last year I made gray, which is on the lower half, but it was still a great experience, and I got to play like the entire season, and I had an amazing coach. His name's Dave, and he believed in me and he saw my potential, which helped me a lot, because you can see the potential in yourself, but having other people that see it too does definitely help. But you also got to realize that not everybody's gonna see it, and so you gotta push yourself, because it's all you. It's sports and athletics. It's all about mental toughness, and that's something really hard to get, especially when you're in the higher levels, because you can be amazing at something, but if you're mentally you can mentally drag yourself down.
I've seen that, like, in you guys' games. Sometimes you and you kind of play off of each other. So, like, running is a little more of an individual sport, but you're playing a very team sport, you kind of all play off of each other. But one person, I've seen this before, one person can lift the spirit of the whole team, too.
Yeah.
So
it could also be reversed, where one person can drag down the entire team.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard in that sense. Like, a team sport is very difficult because you have to lift each other up, but it's hard when you're trying to lift them up, but they're not listening.
Yeah.
And so they're still dragged down, and you're like, you got this, you can just, like, brush it off and just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely hard in a game when everybody gets so mentally down and you're just trying to lift them up.
You're losing, and, you keep making dumb mistakes, and that's hard to get out of.
Well, that's the thing. In a game, if the team's mentality goes down, then you start making careless mistakes that you could easily fix. If your mentality was up, you could do so much better and you could possibly win. But when your mentality gets down, it kind of keeps going, and you keep losing points, and then you keep, like, feeling worse and worse, and it's kind of just this rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's really a mindset. But I honestly think this relates to life. Mm-hmm. There are people that go down the rabbit hole of, oh, poor me, and my life is horrible, and blaming it on everybody else, and not allowing themselves to take not only taking the blame, but taking the responsibility that allows you to, if you give away control, you're not in control. So, like, with life, I mean, this is really a life lesson, like, right? When something beats you down, have the belief in yourself, even if others don't see it, that you can do it, push yourself. So what inspires you?
I don't know. Well, I have a passion for volleyball, which makes it really easy to, want to play and want to get better. And the thing is, I want to make it as high as I can with volleyball. And so then that kind of motivates me, because I'm like, I need to get better, and I want to become the best player I can be.
When you say passion, what do you mean? What do you mean by passion?
I don't know.
Why do some people, I can see your passion, because I know you'll play. I don't have to ask you to play. Matter of fact, you ask me to play, and sometimes I'm really tired. So I've already done 3 workouts that day, but she wants to play, and we play for a good hour at least. But but what drives you to want to do it on your own? Like, I don't have to ask you to play. You play on your own. Why?
Partially because it's fun to me. I mean, it's fun to me, and I think...
All your bruises on your
my
legs?
bruises on my knees. I just think, like, I want to get better so I can play among the best and I can get my true potential, because this mental toughness, it's not just for volleyball or other sports, it also is in life.
Yeah.
And it's like, for anything you do, you need mental toughness.
So you want to be like the best version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I never really thought about this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. How would you describe passion?
I think passion is like down deep. It's something that it's almost like a calling that's above yourself. It's something like I have a passion for helping people and coaching and running and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like there's something more that drives you than yourself almost. It's like a higher calling. It's like something you feel a responsibility to, like, the world to help. If you have... I think it's like sharing your talents. It's like, giving of yourself to others. Because you inspire others by what you do. Like, and seeing that there's a responsibility in helping others by inspiring them through your actions. I think that, to me, I don't know. I mean, passion, that is a really good... I guess I should have looked that up. Like, what is passion? It's a good question, right?
It is a good question.
I do want to ask you, okay, well, people probably don't know, there are people listening and they're like, I don't understand. Volleyball, that's cool. Okay, yeah. But they don't probably understand the different positions. And you play libero, which I think I'm learning a lot about just playing, and you've taught me all that I know when I play with you, which I wish I was better because I could make you better, but I'm trying my hardest. And so, let's explain the positions a little more so they can understand.
Okay, so there are, of course, different positions. On the court, on your side of the net, you have 3 contacts, which just means you can touch the ball 3 times. And, so the positions, there's back row and front row, and I don't know. I did not prepare mentally for this.
No, I just more or less, like, we know there's hitters. We know there's a setter, which the libero often plays the backup setter. And this is another thing that I wanted you on this podcast, never give up, because volleyball players generally are pretty tall. And how tall aren't you? Darn it, you got my height.
I'm 5'1".
Yeah, and so, I think that even speaks more to... I mean, you were first cut from the team, right? You didn't even make it. Then you came back and you got to play, but not very much. You sat the bench way more than you wanted. Then you made the club team on the lower level, but then got the experience, that coach, and then be able to play a lot. And then learning that, liberos kind of has to be what you do well at, because you're not really tall enough to block. Even though you're good at that stuff, you're not like... It's hard when you got a 6-foot woman in front of you blocking that ball. It's going to be tough, versus,
Exactly. That's the thing. I struggle with making the team, then not feeling I'm good enough, and then I was like 5'1" to go on top
didn't
of
help.
it. That didn't help.
I don't know. Your feet are bigger than mine. You'll be taller than me.
There was a lot of things that, could have dragged me down, but I chose to be like, I want to prove people wrong. I can play volleyball even if I'm 5'1". I have a pretty good vertical, but I still can't jump over those 6 foot.
Yeah.
blocks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've started a whole foot in front, above you.
So, I originally wanted to be a hitter because I just love hitting so much, but I realized, I can't really do that. Especially in the higher levels when everybody else's verticals get built, and then my vertical isn't going to be much of an advantage compared to them. And I didn't really think of, for the longest time, I didn't know what position I wanted to be. I was pretty decent at everything, and I loved doing everything. And so going on the grade team with Dave helped me realize how much I love diving and being a libero. And it's not just because of my height that I was a libero.
Okay.
It's because I'm fast and stuff. I don't know. I'm fast and I can get to the ball.
You have good reaction, naturally.
Yeah, and I am also closer to the ground already.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So, I mean, it's partially because I'm shorter. Most, 5'1" people.
But I mean, realistically, obviously, if you want to continue in high school and college and stuff, the most realistic. I mean, not that you can't still, and honestly, you've done setter and you've hit really good in games. I mean, because sometimes you get in that position, but for the most part, back row, you're getting the the sets.
But that's what I don't understand. That kind of reminds me, in junior high, when I made it 8th and 9th grade years, I didn't get to play. But whenever I did play, I played outside hitter.
Which is interesting.
But when I did play, I got spikes, like, left and right. I hit it down, and I got us a ton of points.
Yeah, you
and
really
she still took me out.
Yeah.
And she still didn't let me play.
That's hard. Yeah. I mean, I remember as a parent, and I had other parents saying to me, why isn't Rachel playing more? And I remember talking to you and going, ask, or be proactive. It was really hard as a parent to sit on the side knowing your child's more capable and not having the playtime and seeing the playing favorites. And reality is, this is life. This happens in the workplace. This happens, and then how you handle it. I knew that had to be your battle, not mine. But it's so hard as a parent to watch. But what I was amazed at is your resiliency. You still came, you still showed up, you still played hard every time you had an opportunity. And it's hard to be sitting on the bench and all of a sudden you get to play, and then it's like you haven't been playing. Well, anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about some of the other concepts related to this never giving up. So I know we were talking about a little bit about like discipline. When I did some research for this before we did this, one of the themes that seemed to keep coming up is, why do some people give up and why do others not? And some people are able to discipline themselves and make themselves like work through hard times, kind of like you did. What are your thoughts on that whole concept of discipline?
Well, the thing is, you gotta discipline. To get results, you have to be disciplined and you have to show up, because results won't come if you don't show up. If you don't try hard, if you have a result, if you have a goal in mind, you have to show up and you have to be consistent and you have to work at it to get the result. It's just not just going to come. You have to work for it.
What helps you get results, I guess?
Consistency. I don't know, showing up. Working hard when I'm at practice, working hard and like trying to be better, like the next pass I'll do better, or this or that, and trying to just do the best I can in the moment.
So you like to stay in the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing I talk to a lot of my athletes about, is we talk about outcome goals, which are like winning the race, versus like the process goal. Obviously, most people have more success if they stay in the process. So I like that you said that, because you have to stay present to make that something that you continue, making whatever happened at the time. That's what gets you to the finish. If you're so worried about the finish, you're not focusing on the task at hand. And that's really key. Yeah,
like in a game, I would be like passing and I mess up a pass and I just have to think, stay in the moment, get this next pass. Don't think about the pass I messed up. And that's the thing, a lot of the time your teammates, like if they miss a hit, then they start becoming afraid to hit and they start like going down on themselves, and you just gotta like encourage them to forget about it and brush it off and then focus on the next.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, brush it off. Which is much easier, of course, said than done. Brushing it off. Like, I know for me, I tend to ruminate about, like, after I do a race, I often will think about the race. I relive the race. I usually write a race report and learn from it, because there is a value in kind of, and I know for you, we've done a lot of video. We do video of and you like me to do the videos of what, you playing so you can improve. Because there is something, where you can relook at it and see, hey, what could I do better? And I know you're learning to develop some of the skills with libero right now that are specific to your position, that are tough, rolling. We had quite a laugh yesterday practicing. Because, it's hard to learn how to do things a little differently than they've been done, and creating good habits and that kind of thing. But definitely, I think, like we were saying, is staying in the moment. Another concept, like I said, is disciplining yourself is going to keep you on track for doing better. And that is something I think that's really the differentiating factor between people that give up and people that don't. discipline means it's not convenient. It doesn't feel good. It's not, you don't wait until you want to play volleyball. You play volleyball when it's hard to play volleyball, when you are bruised and you have sore knees. She still goes to practice, and you've done some practices on top of practices on top of, you know, where you guys had tournaments, and you're tired and you push through. It's kind of like any, like a running event or whatever. You make yourself do it when you don't want to.
Yeah, nobody else can motivate you and push you to do something. You have to decide that you want it, and you have to go after it.
It's like inside, like that passion we talked about before.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about believing in yourself, okay? Because I know, I mean, I do not blame you with your history of, like, starting something and someone cutting you from the team and telling you can't do it. And then you having a coach. You've worked really hard. You made a team, but then you didn't get to play very much. And then, you know, that kind of reiterates this, or it questions that belief in yourself a lot. And I know we were lucky to have someone that encouraged you even to do this tryouts for gold. Like, obviously, Dave, like, made this, like, because you had a lot of, there's still doubt, even though, like, you are disciplined and you have this passion, there's still that element sometimes of doubt. And how do you kind of get through that?
Well, the thing is, I think, like I mentioned before, I was on the gray team, and so the gold team kind of seemed out of reach. I thought of them as, like, elite, best of the best, like, college level players, and they're really great players. I thought of them in my mind as, like, something that I couldn't reach.
So you weren't, in your mind weren't a gold level player at that point.
Yeah, at that point I was like, you know, I'll just aim for the next team up this year, not 2 teams up.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, and I thought, like, oh my, they're so good, because I played with a few of the gold team players that were last year. They were really good, and I was just thinking, like, that it was out of reach, and I didn't know if I should try out, and so I didn't. But then I got a text from my old coach and was like, hey, you should show up. You could totally make the team.
Yeah, he did really. He strongly encouraged you, and I think, and then you went for it, and I loved that, because even though, I mean, you've worked really hard and things are still kind of, and I think everyone, I mean, to be honest, everyone has those doubts. Everyone struggles to believe in themselves at all times. And I think you do believe in yourself a lot, but not 100% all the time, which I think everyone does. You know, how do you get yourself to believe in yourself? Like, I think we're working on this right now, right? I mean, how do you get yourself to believe in yourself more often?
Well, it's a struggle throughout, like, any sport, throughout all years that you play it. It's trying to believe in yourself and trying to have the confidence you need. And it's like, in sports, you have up and downs. Like, sometimes you have full confidence in yourself, and sometimes you don't. And
do you think it's a mood thing, or you think it's from, you know, gosh, I missed that, I keep missing. It's a skill.
It is a skill. You have to learn to think and give yourself thoughts of, I can do this, I'm great, and I can be better.
And then believing those thoughts to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So how does that happen? I mean, if it's a skill, it could be developed like something else, right?
Well, it's something you kind of have to be conscious of. Is like, if you're down talking yourself, you have to be conscious of it, and you have to realize, like, I should stop thinking that, and I should change it. Fake it till you make it. Honestly,
okay.
Like, the thing is, if you don't think, like I get a bad pass, I'm like, I can get this next pass. Because if you say that over and over, you're going to start believing it, even if you didn't. So you just
gotta, is it more like I think you're kind of talking about self-talk. Like,
yeah.
Do you think belief stems a lot from that self-talk to yourself? And
yes. If you down talk yourself, then you're going to start believing it and start thinking that you can't do something just because you keep telling yourself that. And so if you tell yourself that you can succeed, you are a lot more likely to succeed.
How do you think that relates to, I mean, I always like to relate, like, sport to, like, life. Like, what skills do you think what life skills are you developing from your involvement with volleyball?
I don't know, mental toughness is the big one, because mentality changes everything. If you're negative and pessimistic about something, it's gonna feel that way. It's gonna feel 10 times worse than if you're positive and like if you don't want to do something, if you're negative about doing that thing, it's gonna be a worse experience than if you're like, okay, I know I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna try to make the best out of it. And so it really, your experience weighs on whether you're thinking positively or negatively about it.
What are your thoughts on, is there a time when it's okay to stop? I guess to not try. Or are there elements or times where it's okay to give up?
I wouldn't say okay to give up. Maybe give yourself a break, but never giving up and realizing like, maybe if you
redirect. Like,
yeah.
It's not like you gave up soccer, but you chose to spend your time on, you can't obviously spend your time on and do really well at everything, jack of all trades. Yeah. You have to decide, okay, well, I have a little more passion for volleyball. I'm going to have to put something else on the back burner.
I mean, I didn't stop soccer because I didn't believe in myself. I realized that I liked this one thing more and I wanted to focus on that. Okay. And so that's what I did. I focused on it. And
yeah. Okay, so not necessarily giving up. I like that. So what's next for you? I mean, what are some of the goals that you have for yourself?
Well, one of my goals is for high school to make the JV team, because I'm going into
more varsity, right? I mean,
varsity, but I don't think I'll make it my sophomore year because I'm a sophomore.
Not all of them.
But yeah, I think.
But what if there are some? Just set your bar for reality, and then
I am confident I'll get on the varsity team in my high school years. Just maybe not sophomore year. I'm pretty sure there are 3 teams. There's the sophomore team, the JV, and then the varsity.
I didn't realize they had 3 options.
I think so. I don't know. But my goal is to make the JV, which is junior varsity, and it's like the middle team, which is still really good. That's my goal. And
that tryouts are like next week, so we're going to see what happens. Yeah. So what advice do you have for people in terms of not giving up or any of the things that we talked about? People listening in, what wisdom, what advice do you have to give people?
I don't know. You have to find the motivation because nobody else is going to give it to you. And you have to, even if it's just, I want to try harder. I want to prove to myself that even if I don't want to do something, I can do it. Or I can still be positive about this even though I don't want to be.
Yeah, you have to discipline.
You have to self-discipline because you can have a really strict coach, an amazing coach, but they're not going to teach you mental toughness. That's something, they can't go inside your brain and
what do you do to build your mental toughness, like purposely? Besides, I mean, I know you self-talk and you talk to yourself positively. Is there anything else you do intentionally to build mental toughness?
I don't know. I would say self-talk is one of the big things that helps build mental toughness, and just brushing off, like when you make a mistake, just realizing that everybody in the game has made a mistake. You're not the only one. And also stop comparing yourself to others. Like I know volleyball is a very competitive sport, and it's very hard not to be like, I want to be better than this libero or something, but realizing that I just want to be the best libero I can be.
That's wise.
Myself, because comparing yourself, just either nobody wins. It's either you win or the other person wins,
or they lose, and then it creates a loser.
Yeah, in a way, it's a lose-lose situation, because when you're like, oh, I'm better than them, then they're losing, but you're also losing in the long run because you're trying to make yourself seem better than someone.
It's like running. I mean, there's always somebody that wins a race, but on any given day that could change. And so honestly, for me, when I race, it's like me against the clock. Like, I think that's what's disappointing when maybe you do, and maybe you're playing a game and you're not playing to your potential. That could be, more difficult. But but knowing that you are in control, I think that's really important, is knowing that you're in control of changing that for yourself.
Yeah.
I like that. So don't compare. Build that mental toughness through self-talk, you would say, and then never giving up. Like, keep trying. See the potential in yourself is something we talked about.
Realizing that results won't come if you give up. you're never going to get
it's
the
never
result.
going to get the result if you've kind of dashed your hope if you don't even keep trying.
Yeah.
Would you agree that like part of success is failure?
Yes, absolutely. Like, you're not going to... Honestly, if you get success without failure, then...
wow, that's rare. That's really impossible, isn't it?
It's impossible.
Yeah, I don't think that's very possible.
Also, that wouldn't have been very fun. That wouldn't have been very challenging if you're just getting there already, you know? If you have the easy way, it's not very fun. Because if you get to that result, it's a lot more rewarding if you went through those challenges and you tried really hard. And
so tell me about that moment, just because it was recent. When she made the team, I just want to know what because I got an email and I forwarded it to her and I sent her a text and said, send her the information, and she was super stoked. What was because that ties along with you've tried and you've been set, no has been, and then you were encouraged and you did do this, and then you actually got the result you were working so hard for. How did it feel when you got that text?
Well, I don't know. I was glad, and I was like, this is going to be an awesome season. I was like, something that I felt like was so far out of reach, and I actually I made it. And jumping one team is actually pretty good, and then jumping two teams.
You really did.
Yeah. And it proved something, I can be better than I thought.
Even than you thought, right? Like that. And I know even Dave has encouraged you to believe in yourself more.
Yeah.
And how, moving forward, I guess, how are you going to make yourself believe in yourself more? Because I was surprised you even said, because, of course you want to try to make the top team, but you also don't want to set yourself up for disappointment. Maybe that's why you're saying go for the JV and hope. Shoot for the best, but hope,
That's what I said a lot, was I was trying to have high hopes but low expectations. And that's something very hard to get, and because they're different things.
Does that take the pressure off you when you do that?
Yeah, honestly, trying out for the gold team, I tried my best waiting for the results the entire week. I tried my best to have low expectations and high hopes, but it is really hard to accomplish that.
You really wanted
hoping,
it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want something bad enough,
you
very
put the
hard.
work in.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to set yourself up for, it would have stung harder if you wanted it and you didn't get it.
Exactly.
Worse than if you just thought, okay. Because, and I don't know, I guess that's a strategic way to do it, lower your expectations. But I've also heard, shoot for the moon because you'll be among the stars, right? Have high hopes.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that might change your trajectory, having higher hopes for yourself? Or, you still expect a lot from yourself, so I'm not sure. I still
expect a lot from myself, probably too much.
So but that kind of eases your stress.
Yeah, that's at the same time, I know I can do it. I still have doubts. Mental toughness isn't something you can perfect overnight. It takes years and years.
And you're working on this belief.
It's something you work on your entire life. Because you always have different experiences and different challenges, and so you have to always remind yourself to be positive and have mental toughness.
Do you have other players or friends or people that you look up to that have these qualities that you're trying to emulate?
I don't know. I know a lot of players. I don't know them personally, but I know a lot of college volleyball players. They have to have mental toughness. Yeah. They have to be able to brush off the mistake that they made and keep going forward. And I don't know. I don't have any specific people besides you, of course.
You don't have to say that. I'm just saying. But maybe as you it would be fun to watch some volleyball these college teams because, and it is amazing watching on TV and stuff and how amazing they are. And I've seen from when you first started to now and the huge amount of growth, and even looking at the high school players to the one of my roommates was on the U of U volleyball team, and it was amazing to watch how quickly that ball moves back and forth and how they had to really develop the skill. And I've come to appreciate, as you've taught me, you can be very athletic, but you have to develop the skill, of putting your body in the right position at the right time to hit that ball. And at first, and I still am working on being accurate with my hits. Now I can get them to you pretty good, but it takes it is a skill that has to be developed over time. So
it takes
definitely.
practice.
It takes, the only way you're really going to get better is practice and practice and practice and a lot of practice, and focused practice too. Not just, I tell people that with swimming, it's better that you go and do less volume and do it right than to just do it, so obviously staying really focused while you're training and stuff. But well, thank you for taking the time. I'm really happy that you were okay to do this, because can be intimidating or whatever, but I really appreciate you being on my podcast, Rachel. And as I said, you're one of my favorite people, and I do really look up to you, because I've seen that process. You could have easily given up so many times. You had a lot against you, but you don't. And that's something I can't teach. And I'm so happy and proud to know that it's my daughter that shows me that great example. So I really appreciate you. No, I'm not going to start crying. She's always thinking I am. I'm a mom. So anyway, but any last words? Anything else?
I don't know. Just don't give
Don't
up.
give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye. Thank you again for listening in to the podcast. I wanted to encourage you to like and subscribe, and please share this so others are learning about it, so we can continue growing it. You can also find me on Instagram at The Blonde Runner, and that's BLONDE with an E on there. And you can also find me on Instagram at Coach Lora Erickson, and that's LORAERICKSON. And thanks again for listening in, and until next time, live well.